The coffee cup shattered against the floor at precisely 5:47 p.m. on a Friday evening that would change everything. Robert Sterling didn't flinch. From his corner booth at Sterling's Riverside restaurant, partially hidden behind a worn baseball cap and yesterday's flannel shirt, he watched the chaos unfold with the practiced eye of a man who'd spent 40 years reading people. The 62-year-old billionaire had chosen this particular evening for his anonymous inspection tour, expecting to find the usual inefficiencies that plagued his worst-performing location. What he found instead was a woman fighting a war on multiple fronts. Sarah Mitchell moved through the Friday dinner rush like a dancer navigating a minefield. 34 years old, dark circles carved deep beneath her eyes. She somehow maintained perfect posture while serving table 7 their entrees. Robert noticed the tremor in her hands as she poured water, the way she bit her lower lip until a thin line of blood appeared, the constant glances toward the back storage room that punctuated her every movement. Her phone buzzed for the 3rd time in 10 minutes. The screen illuminated briefly, St. Vincent Hospital. She declined the call, her face draining of color as she turned back to her customer with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Can I get you anything else? A dessert menu, perhaps?" From across the restaurant, Greg Patterson's voice cut through the dinner conversation like a serrated knife. "Mitchell, what did I tell you about personal calls during shift?" "I'm sorry, Mr. Patterson. It won't happen again." "It better not. We're understaffed as it is since you begged for this shift." Sarah's jaw tightened, but she nodded. Robert watched this exchange with growing interest, his fingers unconsciously gripping his own coffee mug hard enough to leave impressions. Then came the sound that stopped everything. A child's cry, muffled but unmistakable, echoed from the storage room near the kitchen, high-pitched, pained, desperate. The kind of sound that makes every parent in a room turn their head instinctively. Table 12's complaint was immediate. "Is that a kid? What kind of restaurant is this?" Greg's face transformed from annoyed to furious in the span of a heartbeat. He crossed the dining room in 6 long strides, his expensive shoes clicking against the tile with the rhythm of approaching thunder. Sarah moved to intercept him, but he was already at the storage room door, already turning the handle. Inside, curled on top of Sarah's folded coat, was a little girl no older than 5. Her face burned bright red with fever, small chest rising and falling in rapid, shallow breaths. A digital thermometer lay beside her, its display reading 103.2 degrees Fahrenheit. The child's blonde hair was plastered to her forehead with sweat, and even from his distant vantage point, Robert could see her shaking. "Emma, baby, I'm here." Sarah pushed past Greg, dropping to her knees beside her daughter, but Greg's hand clamped down on Sarah's shoulder, yanking her back to standing with enough force that she stumbled. "What the hell is this? Mitchell, please, Mr. Patterson, I can explain. You brought your sick kid to work. You hid her in my storage room." His voice rose with each word until every conversation in the restaurant had ceased. 50 pairs of eyes turned toward the unfolding drama. Someone raised their phone to film. The sitter canceled last minute. "My daughter has a fever, and I couldn't reach anyone. You told me I couldn't miss this shift or I'd be fired, so you thought you'd turn my restaurant into a daycare." During dinner rush, Greg's laugh was sharp and humorless. "Did you seriously think this would work?" Sarah's voice cracked. "I called you 3 times this morning asking for emergency leave. You said to figure it out." "I said figure it out, not bring your problems to my workplace." Emma began to cry in earnest now, reaching for her mother with small, desperate hands. Sarah tried to move toward her, but Greg blocked the path, his body a wall between mother and child. "Please," Sarah whispered. "She's burning up. She needs medicine. I just need to finish my shift, get my pay, and I can take her to urgent care." "You're not finishing anything." Greg's words fell like an executioner's blade. "You're fired." Effective immediately. The restaurant fell into absolute silence. Even the kitchen noise seemed to pause, as if the building itself was holding its breath. Mr. Patterson, I'm begging you. I need this job. I have medical bills, rent due on Monday. My daughter needs... Should have thought about that before breaking every health code and company policy we have. Greg turned to address the room, his voice carrying to every corner. Let this be a lesson to all staff. Personal problems stay personal. This is a business, not a charity. Sarah dropped to her knees, not in supplication to Greg, but to gather Emma into her arms. The little girl wrapped her arms around her mother's neck, her small body radiating heat like a furnace. Greg grabbed Sarah's purse from the storage room and threw it toward the exit. The contents exploded across the floor: a wallet, tampons, loose change, and a cascade of papers, medical bills, collection notices, a prescription for antibiotics dated today, still unfilled. A photograph of a man in military uniform slid to a stop near Robert's booth. Security, escort them out. Tom Carson, the night security guard, approached slowly, his face twisted with reluctance. Come on, Sarah, let's not make this harder. Sarah stood on shaking legs, Emma clinging to her like a lifeline. She gathered what she could reach of her belongings with one hand, leaving a trail of her dismantled life across the restaurant floor. Maria, the head chef, turned away. 3 servers found sudden interest in their order pads. No one met Sarah's eyes. The spring rain had started, a light drizzle that promised to worsen. Through the restaurant's glass doors, Robert watched Sarah step out into it, her daughter pressed against her chest, neither of them with a coat. The little girl's face emerged briefly from her mother's shoulder, fever-bright eyes staring back at the warm restaurant they'd been expelled from. And then Sarah did something unexpected. She stopped, turned around, walked back to the glass door and knocked, her knuckles leaving small prints on the wet glass. Leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments, along with the city you're watching from. Now let's continue with the story. Greg opened the door with visible irritation, blocking the entrance with his body. Rain dripped from Sarah's hair onto the welcome mat as Emma shivered against her chest. What now? Mitchell. My paycheck? Sarah's voice was steady despite the trembling in her hands. I worked 112 hours this pay period. You haven't paid me yet. Greg's smile was cold enough to frost glass. Actually, I checked company policy. Section 4.7, employees terminated for gross misconduct forfeit their final paycheck to cover damages and violations. He pulled out his phone, scrolling with theatrical slowness. Let's see. Health code violations. Unauthorized persons on premises. Child endangerment. Disruption of business operations. Yeah, I'd say we're more than even... That's not legal. You can't... Sue me. Greg started to close the door, then paused. Oh wait, you can't afford a lawyer. Can you... The door clicked shut with finality. Sarah stood motionless for a moment, Emma's ragged breathing hot against her neck. Then her phone rang. St. Vincent Hospital. 4th time. She answered with shaking fingers. Ms. Mitchell, this is Dr. Patel from Pediatric Emergency. We have your daughter's blood test results from this morning's appointment. Emma has a bacterial infection that's progressing rapidly. You need to bring her to the ER immediately. Without treatment in the next 24 hours, there's a significant risk of sepsis. The world tilted. How much will it cost? Your insurance lapsed last month, so you'd be paying out of pocket. ER visit plus antibiotics, probably $8,000 to $10,000. But Ms. Mitchell, this isn't optional. Her white blood cell count is dangerously elevated. I understand. I'll bring her in. Sarah's voice sounded far away, like someone else was speaking. Tonight, Ms. Mitchell. Not tomorrow. Tonight. The call ended. Sarah looked down at Emma, whose eyes were closed, her breathing fast and shallow. She pulled up her mobile banking app with trembling fingers. Current balance, $8.43. The bus ride home took 35 minutes through Friday evening traffic. Emma drifted in and out of sleep, occasionally whimpering. Sarah counted every stoplight, every delay, her mind racing through an impossible equation that wouldn't balance. Her apartment building appeared through the rain like a judgment, and there, standing under the awning by her door, was her landlord, Mrs. Chen, arms crossed, expression grim. "Sarah, I need to talk to you." "Mrs. Chen, I'll have the rent Monday. I just need... It's not just this month's rent anymore. You're 2 months behind. That's $4,200 with late fees." "Mrs." Chen's voice softened slightly. "My daughter is moving back from Seattle. She needs this apartment. I've been patient, but I need your decision now. Pay everything you owe by Monday at 5 p.m., or you need to be out. Monday, but that's 3 days. I'm sorry. Sarah, I've given you extensions before, but I have my own family to think about." Inside the apartment, Sarah laid Emma on the couch and opened her laptop with mechanical precision. She pulled up every bank statement, every bill, every possible resource, and created a list that looked like a mathematical proof of impossibility. Money needed in 72 hours. Emergency room visit and antibiotics, $8,500 rent, and late fees, $4,200. Emma's prescription from this morning still unfilled, $340. Total, $13,040. Money available. Checking account, 843. Savings account, 0.00. Credit cards, all maxed out or closed. Total $8.43. The deficit stared back at her like a death sentence. $13,031.57. Due in 72 hours. To save her daughter's life and keep a roof over their heads. Sarah opened every job search site she could find, fingers flying across the keyboard. She submitted applications to 15 restaurants, 3 hotels, 2 catering companies, within an hour. 6 automated rejections appeared in her inbox. By 10 p.m., 2 more hiring managers called to say they'd seen the video and couldn't risk the publicity. The video. Someone had posted it on TikTok, 47 seconds of her humiliation. Greg's cruelty. Emma's fevered face. It already had 340,000 views. Comments ranged from supportive to vicious, but the result was the same. Sarah Mitchell was now unemployable viral content. At 10:47 p.m., with Emma's temperature climbing to 103.8 despite children's Tylenol, Sarah made the decision she'd sworn she'd never make. She gathered the last item of value she owned, the platinum wedding band David had given her 7 years ago. The inscription inside read, "Forever begins today." The 24-hour pawn shop on Morrison Street was sandwiched between a check cashing place and a bail bonds office. The fluorescent lights hummed with the kind of buzz that made your teeth ache. Sarah approached the bulletproof glass window, sliding the ring through the slot. The clerk, a man in his 60s with kind eyes, examined it with a jeweler's loupe. Platinum band, small diamond inlay, good condition. He looked up at Sarah's face, at the sleeping child in her arms, at the desperation she couldn't hide. "I can give you $850. It wasn't enough. It wasn't nearly enough. But it was something. Deal." She signed the paperwork in a daze, accepting the cash in worn 20s and 50s. Walking back to her car, she strapped Emma into her car seat and sat behind the wheel, staring at the money in her hands. Still $9,000 short. Still no solution. Still 67 hours until Monday at 5 p.m. Then she noticed something on her windshield. Not a ticket. An envelope. Sarah got out of the car, rain immediately soaking through her uniform. She grabbed the envelope, looking around the empty parking lot. No one in sight. She opened it with wet fingers. Inside was $10,000 in $100 bills. Crisp, new, impossible. And beneath the money, a single piece of paper with 7 words written in careful handwriting. For Emma's medicine. You'll understand soon. Sarah sat in her car for 20 minutes, staring at $10,000 in cash that felt like a trap disguised as salvation. The money was real. She could feel the texture of the bills, see the security strips under the dome light. But the question that paralyzed her was simple and terrifying. What would accepting this cost? Her Emma stirred in the back seat, her small voice cutting through Sarah's paralysis. "Mommy, I'm thirsty." Decision made. Sarah stuffed the cash into her purse alongside the $850 from the pawn shop and drove straight to St. Vincent Hospital. The emergency room at midnight on a Friday was a study in human suffering. Sarah approached the registration desk with Emma in her arms, the little girl's head lolling against her shoulder. The receptionist, a woman named Tracy according to her name tag, looked up with practiced efficiency. Name and date of birth: Emma Mitchell, March 15th, 2020. Tracy's fingers flew across her keyboard. "And you're here for high fever, bacterial infection. Dr. Patel called me earlier. Insurance card. I don't have insurance right now, but I can pay cash." Tracy's expression shifted almost imperceptibly. "How much are you planning to pay?" Sarah hesitated. Something in Tracy's tone made her cautious. "Enough to cover the visit and medication." "Ma'am, for transparency, I need to inform you that cash payments over $10,000 require documentation for IRS reporting. It's federal law. We'll need to verify the source of funds and file Form 8300. Sarah's stomach dropped. "What kind of documentation?" "Pay stubs, bank statements, proof of where the money came from. It's to prevent money laundering." Tracy's voice was kind but firm. "With that amount of cash, we also have to notify our security team. Standard procedure." Through the glass doors behind the desk, Sarah saw a security guard straighten, his hand moving to his radio. The walls were closing in. "What if I pay less than $10,000? Then no reporting necessary. But the ER visit, blood work, IV antibiotics, and prescription will likely run $8,000 to $9,000 minimum. If your daughter needs to be admitted overnight, which is probable given what you've described, you're looking at $12,000 to $15,000. Sarah looked down at Emma's flushed face. Every minute mattered. But if she paid with the mysterious cash and couldn't prove where it came from, what then? Would they call the police? Would she lose Emma to child services while they investigated? "Can I use an ATM?" "There's one in the lobby." Sarah carried Emma to the bank machine, her daughter's weight somehow both substantial and fragile. She inserted her debit card, selected withdrawal, and entered $800, the maximum daily limit. The machine hummed, clicked, and then displayed a message that made her blood run cold. "Account temporarily frozen due to suspicious activity. Please contact your bank." She tried again. Same message. She pulled out her phone and called the after-hours banking number, navigating through 6 automated menu options before reaching a human being. "Ms. Mitchell, I see your account has been flagged for review. You deposited $850 in cash at 10:38 p.m., which is unusual for your typical activity pattern. Additionally, there are several large outstanding debts in collections. For your protection, we've placed a temporary hold while our fraud department reviews the transactions. How long will that take?" 3 to 5 business days. "I need that money now. My daughter is sick." "I understand, ma'am, but these protocols are in place for your security. The hold will be lifted once we verify." Sarah hung up. She wanted to scream. Instead, she carried Emma back to the registration desk. "Is there a payment plan option?" Tracy's expression was sympathetic. "For this amount, You'd need to apply for medical credit through our financial services department. They open Monday at 9 a.m. My daughter needs treatment tonight. We won't turn away a child in medical distress. We'll treat her regardless of payment, but you'll be billed, and if you can't pay, the debt goes to collections, which affects your credit and can result in wage garnishment. More debt, more collections, more financial quicksand, but Emma was burning up, and Sarah was out of options. Okay, please help her. As Tracy printed admission papers, Sarah's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number, 142 Harbor Street. Tomorrow, 8 a.m. Interview. Don't be late. She Googled the address with shaking fingers. Sterling Hospitality Group, corporate headquarters. The company that owned the restaurant where she'd been fired less than 6 hours ago. Her phone buzzed again. Another text from an unknown number. Different from the first. Saw the video. You're trending on TikTok. 1.2 million views now. Someone will recognize you everywhere you go. Sarah looked up at the waiting room. A teenager 2 rows over was staring at her phone. Then at Sarah. Then back at her phone. Recognition dawned on the girl's face. She whispered to her friend, who also looked up. Sarah clutched Emma tighter and realized with sickening clarity that the money in her purse wasn't salvation. It was evidence of something she didn't understand. Her bank account was frozen. Her face was viral. And someone was summoning her to the headquarters of the company that had just destroyed her life. The first trap had sprung, and she'd walked right into it. Sarah barely slept. Emma's fever broke at 4 a.m. after 2 bags of IV fluids and industrial-strength antibiotics. They were discharged at 6 with a prescription. A bill for 8,847 SARC that would haunt her credit for years, and instructions to follow up Monday morning. Sarah had 3 hours before the mysterious interview at Sterling Hospitality headquarters. The building on Harbor Street was 40 stories of steel and glass that reflected the morning sun like a monument to everything Sarah wasn't. She stood on the sidewalk, Emma's small hand in hers, and seriously considered walking away. This had to be some cruel joke. Maybe Greg had sent the message, planning one final humiliation. But Emma tugged her forward. "Mommy, the lady is waving at us." The receptionist stood at the glass doors, holding them open. "Ms. Mitchell, Mr. Sterling is expecting you. 35th floor? Private elevator?" The elevator ride felt like ascending into another dimension. Emma pressed her face against the mirrored wall, leaving small handprints while Sarah's reflection stared back, hollow-eyed and exhausted in yesterday's uniform. The doors opened to an office that looked nothing like she'd imagined. No mahogany desk, no leather chairs, no power walls of achievements. Instead, large windows overlooked the Willamette River, and sitting at a simple wooden table was the man from the corner booth, same flannel shirt, same weathered face, but without the baseball cap. She recognized him from the company website photos. Robert Sterling, the billionaire founder, worth an estimated $400 million. Sitting in front of her with 2 cups of coffee. "Ms. Mitchell, please, sit. I got apple juice for Emma, if that's okay." Sarah remained standing. "Why am I here? Because I saw what happened Friday night. All of it." Robert slid a folder across the table. "This is your personnel file. University of Oregon, summa cum laude in business administration. 4 years at Hilton Portland as assistant manager. Excellent performance reviews. Letters of recommendation that read like love letters from your supervisors." He pulled out another document. "This is what happened after. Husband died in a car accident. Cancer treatment bills from his final year. $87,000 in medical debt. Credit score collapsed. Had to take the waitress job at Riverside because no one would hire you for management with your credit history." Sarah's hands trembled. "You investigated me. I did due diligence, same as I would for any potential executive hire." Robert pushed one of the coffee cups toward her. "Sit, please. Your daughter looks tired." Sarah sat because Emma was swaying on her feet. The little girl climbed into her lap and accepted the apple juice box with both hands. "That money on your windshield wasn't from me," Robert said. "It was from Tom Carson, the security guard who escorted you out. He sold his motorcycle. A 1987 Harley his father left him. Got $10,000 for it and gave it all to you." Sarah's throat closed. "Why would he do that?" "Because 10 years ago, Tom was you, widower, 2 kids, drowning in debt. Someone helped him. He told me Friday night. I can't watch it happen again. He doesn't expect you to pay him back, but I told him you would anyway, just not with money." Robert opened another folder. Inside was a job offer letter on Sterling Hospitality letterhead. Assistant General Manager, Riverside location. Salary $65,000 annually. Full health benefits for you and Emma. Access to our childcare partnership program. Start date Monday. Sarah stared at the paper like it might bite her. "This is a joke." "It's not. You're offering me a management position at the restaurant where I was fired 2 days ago, where everyone watched me get thrown out. This is insane." "It's deliberate." Robert's voice was steady. "You were fired unjustly. Greg Patterson violated labor laws. But more than that, you have the skills we need. That restaurant is failing because of poor leadership, not poor location or poor concept." "Why me? Why now?" Robert leaned back. "Honestly, part of it is that video. It has 1.8 million views as of this morning. The board of directors is under pressure. They see this as an opportunity to rehabilitate our image, hire the viral waitress, show we care about working families." There it was, the catch. "So I'm a PR stunt? To them, yes. To me, you're a qualified candidate who deserves a second chance. But I won't lie to you. Sarah, if you take this job, you'll be under a microscope. Every mistake will be magnified. The media will scrutinize you. Some employees will resent you. And if you fail, the board will use it as proof that compassion is bad business. And if I succeed, then you prove that investing in people is the best investment we can make." Emma had fallen asleep in Sarah's lap, the juice box dangling from her small hand. Sarah looked down at her daughter's peaceful face and thought about the hospital bill, the eviction notice, the frozen bank account, the impossible math of survival. "What's the real catch?" Sarah asked quietly. "You'll work at Riverside, same location, same staff who watched you get fired. You'll have to lead people who didn't defend you. Can you do that?" Sarah thought about Maria turning away, about Tom's apologetic face as he escorted her out, about the servers who'd pretended not to see. "Do I have a choice? There's always a choice, but some choices are between bad and worse." Sarah picked up the pen. Her hand hovered over the signature line. "When do I start?" "Monday, 8 a.m. Robert stood and extended his hand. "Welcome to Sterling Hospitality, Miss Mitchell." As Sarah shook his hand, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She ignored it. But as they walked to the elevator, she checked the message. It was from Portland Tribune, the city's major newspaper. Article publishing, Sunday evening. Sterling's desperate PR stunt Billionaire hires viral waitress. Would you like to comment? The article was already written, which meant someone had leaked the story before Sarah had even signed the contract. The first 2 weeks at Riverside felt like walking through a minefield blindfolded. Sarah arrived Monday morning to polite applause that sounded like hands clapping underwater, distant and insincere. Maria offered a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Tom nodded from his security post. The day staff pretended Friday night had never happened, but something was wrong. Conversations stopped when Sarah entered rooms. Inventory counts came up short, always when she was responsible for verification. Customer orders went missing from the system, making her look incompetent during her first week. a food critic's reservation disappeared entirely, resulting in an angry review that mentioned disorganized new management. Sarah worked 18-hour days trying to prove herself. Emma stayed with Mrs. K. Chen, who'd granted a 2-week extension on the eviction notice. Every night, Sarah collapsed into bed and woke 4 hours later to do it again. On day 12, she discovered the staff group chat. Not the official one, the secret one titled Operation Humble. She wasn't included, but a server named Jessica had accidentally left her phone unlocked in the break room. Sarah's hand trembled as she scrolled through the messages. Another order. Accidentally. Lost. Sarah looked so stressed, LOL. Who's taking tomorrow's inventory shift? We need someone to miscount. This is cruel. Should we stop? Greg is paying too much to stop now. Sarah's vision blurred. She set the phone down carefully, walked to the storage room where Emma had hidden 2 weeks ago, and threw up into a mop bucket. That evening, Maria found her sitting on the floor of the walk-in freezer, where no cameras could see. Sarah, I need to tell you something. Don't. Sarah's voice was hollow. I already know. No, you don't know all of it. Maria sat down beside her, breath fogging in the cold air. Greg paid me $2,000 before he was fired. He told me to make you look bad. Said if you quit within a month, he'd pay me another $3,000. Why are you telling me now? Because I can't do it anymore. My son needed surgery. The money helped. But watching you work yourself to death while I sabotage you... Maria's voice cracked. I'm not that person. I thought I was, but I'm not. Sarah laughed, a sound without humor. At least you got paid for betraying me? What about the others? Most are just scared. Scared if they support you, they'll be next. Tom, though... Maria hesitated. Tom's different. What about Tom? You should ask him yourself. Sarah found Tom in the parking lot at shift change. He was sitting in his truck, and she knocked on the window hard enough to hurt her knuckles. We need to talk. Tom wouldn't meet her eyes. Not a good time. Make it a good time. Now. They stood in the loading area, and Sarah watched his face as she asked the question. Did you send those emails to Portland Tribune? The ones about me crying in the office, about how I can't handle pressure? Tom's silence was confirmation enough. You gave me $10,000, your father's motorcycle. Why would you help me just to destroy me? It wasn't supposed to be like this. Tom's voice was rough. Greg contacted me after he was fired. Said if you quit within 60 days, he'd pay me $15,000. That's $5,000 profit on my original investment. Sarah felt something inside her chest crack. Business is business? Is that it? I have debts too. Sarah, my wife lost her job. My daughter needs braces. I saw an opportunity. An opportunity. I was an opportunity. Sarah turned away before he could see her cry. Get away from me. Sarah. I said get away. She drove home in a fog, her hands operating the vehicle on autopsy. Inside her apartment, Emma was already asleep, watched over by Mrs. Chen. Sarah thanked her neighbor, closed the door, and opened her laptop. She typed a resignation letter with mechanical precision. 1 paragraph. Professional. Clean. Final. Then her phone rang. Unknown number. Don't quit. Not yet. Sarah's exhaustion transformed into rage. Who the hell is this another person getting paid to manipulate me? I'm someone who lost everything 40 years ago. Someone gave me a chance. I built an empire. But I never forgot the feeling of being tested by fire. You're being forged. Sarah, don't run from the flame. Why should I trust you? Because I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm asking you to trust yourself. The call ended. Sarah checked the caller ID and traced the number. It led to Evergreen Care Facility in Seattle. Room 312. She cross-referenced the room number with the facility's website and found a name, William Bradford Sterling. She Googled it. Robert Sterling's father? Supposedly dead for 20 years according to every biography she'd read. But the nursing home had him listed as a current resident, alive, and calling her. Sarah's hands shook as she searched deeper. She found a 1983 newspaper article. Bradford Sterling, disowned son. He chose money over his dying mother. The article detailed how Robert, then 25, had refused to shut down his struggling restaurant to care for his dying mother full-time. His father had called him heartless, had severed all ties. The mother had died during surgery. The family had fractured, and now the father was alive, calling her, knowing about her situation, which meant Robert knew his father was alive, had been in contact with him, which meant... Sarah pulled up her email and found Robert's message from this morning. Hope your first weeks are going well. Remember, pressure creates diamonds. She scrolled through other messages. Supportive, encouraging, kind. All of them lies. She called Robert's direct line. He answered on the second ring. Sarah, it's late. Is everything... Did you know? Her voice was ice. Did you know they were sabotaging me? Silence? Robert, did you? No. Yes. The word hit her like a physical blow. Why didn't you tell me? Because if I told you, you'd change how you acted. They'd notice. You needed to face the real game without my protection. This isn't a game. This is my life. My daughter's life. I know, and I'm sorry, but Sarah, you needed to prove yourself without anyone knowing I was watching. If I intervene every time someone undermines you, you'll never be taken seriously. So you used me, just like everyone else. I gave you an opportunity. What you do with it is up to you. Sarah's next words came out as a whisper. Your father is alive. Another pause. Longer this time. Yes. Everyone thinks he's dead. You let everyone believe that. It was easier than explaining that he disowned me, and I put him in a care facility when he developed dementia. Does he know what you're doing to me? He knows everything. I visit him every Sunday. He still thinks I made the wrong choice 40 years ago. Maybe he's right. Sarah hung up. She walked to Emma's room and stood in the doorway, watching her daughter sleep. Emma's backpack was on the floor, and Sarah noticed something sticking out, a crumpled piece of paper. She pulled it out and smoothed it flat. It was a drawing from school. Stick figures, one labeled Mommy, one labeled Emma. Above them, words in a child's handwriting. Kids say Mommy is a charity case. What does that mean? Sarah slid down the wall and sat on the floor of her daughter's room. The resignation letter was still open on her laptop in the other room. Tom's betrayal. Maria's confession. Robert's manipulation. And now Emma. Innocent Emma, bearing the weight of her mother's public humiliation. She pulled out her phone and looked at William Bradford Sterling's number. A man supposedly dead. A father who disowned his son, calling her from beyond the grave of a fabricated death. Nothing was real. Nothing was what it seemed. And she was so tired of being everyone's test subject, everyone's redemption project, everyone's opportunity for profit or peace. Sarah closed her eyes and let the tears come. Silent and hot, in the darkness of her daughter's room, while the resignation letter waited like a loaded gun in the next room. Week 6 arrived like an executioner. Sarah woke Monday morning to an email from the IRS. Notice of investigation into unreported income. The $10,000 from Tom. The system had flagged it. Her bank account wasn't just frozen anymore, it was under federal review. She couldn't access her first paycheck, couldn't pay for Emma's follow-up medication, couldn't buy groceries. Mrs. Chen knocked on her door at 7 a.m., her face apologetic but firm. I gave you extensions. My daughter arrives Friday. You have 4 days. Sarah? I'm sorry. That afternoon, Emma's school nurse called. Ms. Mitchell, Emma had an asthma attack during recess. This is her third episode this month. Her pediatrician says it's stress-induced. Children absorb their parents' anxiety. Whatever is happening at home, Emma's body is reacting to it. Sarah picked Emma up early and found her daughter sitting alone in the nurse's office, using an inhaler she'd never needed before this job, before this nightmare. "Mommy, I heard kids talking. They said you only have your job because people feel sorry for us. Is that true?" Sarah wanted to lie. Instead, she held Emma close and said nothing, which was its own kind of truth. Wednesday brought the health inspector, an unannounced visit that felt anything but random. He found 3 violations: expired dairy that shouldn't have been in the refrigerator, improper food storage temperatures, inadequate hand washing stations, all in areas Sarah had personally checked that morning. The restaurant's grade dropped from A to C. The front page headline in the Portland Tribune's food section read, "Sterling's Comeback Story. Restaurant fails health inspection under new management." Maria found Sarah crying in the walk-in freezer that evening. "They're escalating. Greg called me again, offered me $5,000 to put expired food in the fridge and make sure you got blamed." Maria's voice shook. "I said no. But Sarah, I can't keep working here. Greg found out my husband's immigration status. He threatened to report him if I don't cooperate. Maria, don't. I have to quit. I'm so sorry. You're a good person, but I can't risk my family." Maria pulled off her apron and left it on the counter. "They're going to destroy you. Please don't let them." Sarah worked alone that night, covering Maria's shift and her own. She didn't get home until 2 a.m. Emma was having nightmares, crying out for her father, asking why Mommy was never home anymore. Thursday. Robert called an emergency meeting. Sarah sat in the corporate boardroom while 7 executives evaluated her like a failed experiment. Board member Anderson presented a slideshow. 6 weeks under Sarah Mitchell's management, revenue down 12%. Staff turnover up 40%. Online reviews dropped from 4.2 to 3.1 stars. Health grade C. "Gentlemen, this rehabilitation project is actively damaging our brand." "She's being sabotaged," Robert interjected. "That's an excuse, not a strategy." Anderson turned to face Sarah. "Ms. Mitchell, you're a liability. We vote to terminate your employment effective immediately." 7 hands raised. Only Roberts and 1 other remained down. Roberts stood. "As majority shareholder, I override this vote." The room erupted. Anderson's voice cut through. "Then we call an emergency shareholder meeting. You'll lose your CEO position. Do what you must, but Sarah stays. You're willing to sacrifice everything you built for a Waitress. I'm willing to sacrifice everything for what's right." After the meeting, Anderson cornered Sarah in the hallway. "Let's be honest. Robert is about to lose his company because of you. 30 years of work. His father disowned him once for choosing business over family. Now his legacy is crumbling. For what for you?" Sarah's throat tightened. "I'll make you a deal. Resign voluntarily. We'll give you $250,000 in severance. Sign an NDA. Everyone wins. You save Robert's company, get financial security, and Emma can have a normal childhood again." That night, Sarah sat at her kitchen table with a calculator and her daughter's crayon drawing. $250,000 would erase every debt. Emma could have therapy for her stress-induced asthma. They could move somewhere no one knew about the viral video. Emma appeared in the doorway, clutching her stuffed bear. "Mommy, why are you sad?" "Baby, if Mommy quitting her job could help a friend who helped us, should Mommy do it? Is the friend Mr. Sterling?" Sarah nodded. Emma climbed into her lap. "Daddy used to say, never quit when people are counting on you. Is Mr. Sterling counting on you?" "Yes." "Then you can't quit. Daddy wouldn't want you to." Sarah held her daughter and cried. later. After Emma was asleep, Sarah researched deeper into Robert's past. She found the full story. Robert's mother, Eleanor, had cancer. Treatment cost $500,000. Robert was 25, working 3 jobs, building his first restaurant. His father demanded he shut it down and care for Eleanor full-time. Robert chose to keep working to pay for treatment. Eleanor died during surgery. Bradford never forgave him, called him heartless, told the papers his son valued money over life. But Eleanor's obituary included a quote from her final letter. "Robert tried everything to save me. I died knowing my son fought with the only weapons he had: work and hope and love." Sarah understood now. Robert wasn't helping her. He was still trying to save his mother, and she was tired of being everyone's unfinished business. She drove to Evergreen Care Facility at midnight. Room 312. William Bradford Sterling sat awake, looking at old photographs. She knocked. He turned. "You must be Sarah. My son talks about you constantly. He doesn't know I can still access his emails." Sarah entered. "Can I ask you something? Did Robert make the right choice 40 years ago?" William stared at her for a long time. "The answer to that question will decide both of your futures, and I think you already know what it is." William Bradford. Sterling's room smelled of antiseptic and old photographs. He gestured for Sarah to sit in the chair beside his bed, his hands spotted with age but steady. "You want to know if my son made the right choice 40 years ago. Everyone thought he was wrong. His mother thought so in her final days. I thought so for decades. I hated him for it." Sarah waited, her exhaustion making the room feel dreamlike. "Last year, the dementia cleared for a moment. Doctors call it terminal lucidity. I found Eleanor's diary in a box I'd refused to open for 40 years. Her final entry, written the morning she died, said this: 'Bradford blames Robert, but I don't. My son is fighting the only way he knows how with work, with hope, with refusal to surrender. I wish I could tell him Mom understands. Mom is proud, not because he stayed or left, but because he tried everything to save me.'" William's eyes were wet. "I was wrong for 40 years. Sarah, I'm dying in 6 months. Too late to truly fix what I broke. Why are you telling me this? Because you're at the same crossroads. My son is sacrificing his company because he wants to do right by you, or maybe because he's still trying to save his mother through you. Can you live with being someone's therapy project?" Sarah's hands clenched. "That's not fair." "Life rarely is. You have 3 choices. Sarah, first, take Anderson's money. Resign. Robert keeps his CEO position, but he'll never forgive himself. He'll see it as failing again. Second, stay and fight. Robert loses the CEO position. The company his mother inspired him to build. Gone. He loses everything but maybe gains peace." Sarah leaned forward. "What's the third option?" "The one I should have chosen 40 years ago. The one that requires sacrifice from both of you." William's gaze was sharp despite his age. "Stop trying to fix the past. Stop trying to save Eleanor. Stop trying to honor David. Build something new. Not for dead people, for living ones." Sarah drove home as dawn broke over Portland. She thought about David in his final days, hooked to machines, fighting for every breath. He'd pulled her close one night and whispered, "If you ever have to choose between keeping me alive longer or giving Emma a future, choose Emma. Don't carry guilt. Choose life." She'd chosen treatment continuation anyway. 4 more months together. $87,000 in debt. But Emma got to celebrate her 3rd birthday with her father. Was it the wrong choice? The right one. Both at home? Sarah made coffee and opened her laptop. She wrote 2 letters with shaking hands. The first, to the board of directors. "I resign as assistant general manager. However, I propose a new arrangement. Hire me as an independent consultant reporting directly to shareholders, not Robert Sterling. Give me 90 days to turn Riverside profitable. If I fail, you pay me nothing. If I succeed, you reinstate Robert as CEO and I earn my management position based purely on performance. No charity, no pity, pure results. The second, to Robert. Step down as CEO temporarily. Let Anderson take control. Prove to your father you're not clinging to guilt. Prove to yourself you built this company on merit, not grief. Work with me as equals, not as savior and saved. We both need to burn down our old identities. She looked at both letters for a long time. Then she remembered something. Emma's backpack sat by the door. Sarah unzipped it and found her daughter's homework folder. Inside was an essay titled, My Hero. Sarah's vision blurred as she read Emma's careful handwriting. My hero is my mommy. She works hard even when people are mean. She cries in the bathroom, but smiles when she sees me. Daddy died, but mommy didn't give up. She says being strong doesn't mean not falling down. It means getting back up. I want to be strong like mommy. At the bottom, Emma had drawn 2 stick figures holding hands. Above them, a sun. Below them, the words, "We don't quit." Sarah pressed the paper to her chest and let herself cry, not from despair this time, but from something else. Determination forged in fire. She printed both letters, sealed them in envelopes, and dressed for work. Emma was already awake, eating cereal at the kitchen table. "Mommy, are you going to quit?" "No. Baby, I'm going to fight." "Good. Because quitters never win, and winners never quit. Daddy taught me that." Sarah kissed Emma's forehead. Daddy was a smart man. She dropped Emma at school and drove to Sterling Hospitality headquarters. It was 8:45 a.m. The board meeting started at 9. She had 15 minutes to deliver both letters and change everything. The elevator rose to the 35th floor. Sarah's hands didn't shake anymore. She walked past the receptionist, who tried to stop her, and pushed open the boardroom doors. 7 executives looked up in surprise. Robert stood at the head of the table. Anderson smirked. Sarah placed both envelopes on the table. "I have a proposal." Anderson laughed. "Ms. Mitchell, this meeting is—" The building's fire. Alarm shrieked. Emergency lights flashed. Then Sarah saw them through the glass walls, federal agents flooding onto the floor, badges visible, guns holstered but present. An FBI agent opened the boardroom door. "Anderson Patterson and Gregory Patterson, you're under arrest for embezzlement, wire fraud, and conspiracy. We have warrants for your records and devices." Anderson's face went white. "This is a mistake. We have evidence of $2.4 million transferred through shell companies over 5 years. Among other charges." The agent's eyes swept the room. "Everyone else, stay seated. This building is now a crime scene." Sarah looked at Robert. His expression was unreadable. Then his eyes met hers, and she saw something she hadn't expected. Relief. The FBI cleared the building within 2 hours. Anderson and Greg Patterson were gone, handcuffed and heading toward federal charges that would take years to resolve. The remaining board members sat in shell-shocked silence as Robert called an emergency session. Sarah stood at the head of the table, her 2 letters still unopened. "Before you read those," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart, "you need to understand something. This company is bleeding because of systemic rot, not because of me, not because of bad luck, because people forgot what hospitality means." Robert gestured for her to continue. "I'm proposing a 90-day experiment, complete operational control of Riverside. If I don't turn it profitable, you owe me nothing. If I succeed, Robert returns as CEO, and I earn my position based on merit alone." The CFO leaned forward. What's your plan? Complete transparency. Live stream our kitchen operations. Publish every financial record. Hire 15 people from difficult backgrounds and train them publicly. Partner with food banks, donate 10% of all food. Rebrand from Scandal Restaurant to Second Chances Kitchen. Make every employee's comeback story part of our identity. That could cost $400,000 to implement, the CFO said. If it fails, we go bankrupt. Sarah met his eyes. If we don't try, we're already morally bankrupt. Robert's voice cut through the tension. I vote yes. All in. The motion passed 4-3. Sarah had 90 days to save everything. Day 1 began at 4 a.m. Sarah worked 18-hour shifts, barely sleeping, living on coffee and adrenaline. Emma stayed with Mrs. Chen, who'd agreed to one final extension. The separation tore at Sarah's heart, but she had no choice. By day 15, she'd hired Marcus, a 19-year-old homeless veteran with no culinary experience but desperate eyes that reminded her of herself. Food critics mocked the hire. Then Marcus created a pasta dish that went viral on food blogs. Revenue climbed 8%. Day 30 brought the live stream launch. 45,000 people watched daily, seeing every aspect of the kitchen. Viewers started donating directly to the staff scholarship fund. Nike and Intel employees volunteered their time. The community was responding, but the sabotage continued. Day 52, a small kitchen fire. Origin suspicious. Day 58, a false food poisoning claim that crushed their momentum. Day 63, an anonymous IRS tip about Sarah's laundered $10,000, triggering another investigation. Day 67 destroyed her. Emma was hospitalized with a stress-induced seizure. Sarah found her daughter unconscious on Mrs. Chen's floor, an ambulance already there. Lights flashing red and blue through the windows. At the hospital, Emma's small hand gripped hers. Mommy, please stop. I don't want you to die like Daddy. Baby, I can't quit now. We're so close. But Daddy said life is about being together, not winning. Sarah collapsed in the hospital bathroom, her body finally giving out from exhaustion and malnutrition. The ER doctor admitted her alongside Emma. You've lost 20 pounds in 2 months. Your cortisol levels are dangerous. Ms. Mitchell, you're killing yourself. Robert visited the next morning. His face was gray, aged beyond his 62 years. Sarah, I need to tell you something. My father died yesterday. The room tilted. William, he left me a letter. Robert's hands shook as he unfolded the paper. He wrote, Son, I wasted 40 years hating you for choosing work over family. But Sarah taught me something you can't separate the two. You worked for Mom's treatment because of love. Sarah works for Emma's future because of love. Work isn't the enemy. Guilt is. Let her succeed or fail on her own terms. Stop carrying her. Stop carrying me. Stop carrying your mother. Bury me next to Eleanor. Tell me stories about your victories, not your regrets. Sarah's tears came hot and fast. What do we do now? We finish this. Together. But if you want to quit, I'll support that too. 15 days left. All or nothing? Sarah discharged herself against medical advice. The community rallied. A GoFundMe raised $89,000 from strangers. Staff worked unpaid just to see it through. Emma returned, working as a junior greeter after school. Her smile the fuel Sarah needed. Day 90 arrived like Judgment Day. Catherine Walsh, the independent auditor, spent 12 hours reviewing every document, every transaction, every customer review. At 6 p.m., she called everyone to a public meeting. 100 community members filled the restaurant. Camera crews lined the walls. The original viral video's creator stood in the back, filming again. Sarah held Emma's hand. Robert stood behind them. Marcus and the other new hires clustered together, their futures hanging in balance. Catherine's face was unreadable as she organized her papers. Then her phone rang. She stepped outside, her expression shifting from neutral to shocked. She returned, looked directly at Sarah, and said, "Before I announce the results, I need to tell you something about this audit you don't know. Ms. Mitchell, this audit was rigged from the start." The restaurant fell into absolute silence. Catherine Walsh stood at the front, her auditor's composure cracking. "I was paid $50,000 by a group of investors to ensure you failed. Ms. Mitchell, they provided falsified data to input. They wanted to acquire Sterling's at bankruptcy price." The crowd erupted. Robert stepped forward. "Who?" "Nelson Patterson, Greg Patterson's uncle, real estate mogul. He's been shorting Sterling's stock for 6 months, manipulating the price down so he could buy the company for pennies." Catherine's voice strengthened. "But I didn't use their data. I conducted a real audit, and I'm turning over all evidence to the FBI as we speak." Sarah's legs weakened. "So all this was sabotage from the beginning. But Ms. Mitchell, here are your actual numbers for Riverside under your leadership." Catherine projected the results on the wall. Revenue 47% increase from week 1. Customer satisfaction 4.8 stars. Highest in Sterling's history. Staff retention 94%. Only losses were saboteurs. Community impact 127 people helped through training, jobs, and meals. Break even achieved. Day 53. Ms. Mitchell, you didn't just save this restaurant. You created a model that all 47 Sterling's locations are now adopting. The room exploded in applause. Emma jumped into Sarah's arms, crying. Robert's hand found Sarah's shoulder, squeezing gently. Then the door burst open. Greg Patterson stood there, still wearing his bail hearing clothes, his face twisted with rage. "This is bullshit. She won because of pity. People supported her because of that viral video, not because she's actually competent." The crowd went silent. Sarah gently set Emma down and walked toward Greg, her exhaustion replaced by calm clarity. "Greg, you're absolutely right." Gasps rippled through the room. People came initially because of the video, because they saw injustice and wanted to help. But they stayed because of quality. They returned because of community. They invested because they believed in redemption. Sarah's voice was steady. "You taught me something when you threw me out in the rain. You showed me exactly what leadership should never be. Thank you for that lesson." Greg's face reddened. "You self-righteous." Emma stepped forward, her small voice cutting through his anger. "My daddy died serving his country. My mommy works so I can eat. What do you do?" The silence was deafening. Greg's mouth opened and closed. Then he turned and left, the door swinging shut behind him. Robert took the microphone, his hands trembling slightly. "I owe everyone here an apology, especially Sarah. I didn't hire her to help her. I hired her to help myself, to fix my guilt over my mother's death 40 years ago. I made Sarah carry my emotional baggage when she deserved a mentor, not a man with a savior complex." He turned to face her directly. "Sarah, I'm sorry. You deserved better from me. But here's what you taught me," Robert continued. "Redemption isn't about fixing the past. It's about building a better future. My father died last week. His final words were, 'Stop trying to save your mother. Start building for the next generation.' So today, I'm announcing several changes. 20% of Sterling's hospitality profits will fund the Second Chances program. Every location will hire people from difficult backgrounds. And Sarah Mitchell is promoted to Vice President of Human Development, where she'll design policies to prevent what happened to her from ever happening to anyone else." The applause was thunderous, but Sarah raised her hand. "Mr. Sterling, thank you, but I decline." The room went silent again. These 90 days taught me something crucial. I don't want to work for you. I want to work with people like me. I'm starting my own non-profit The Second Chances Initiative. We'll partner with companies to create real opportunities, not charity. Pathways to dignity, not handouts. Sarah looked at Emma. I'm leaving the corporate world. My daughter deserves a mother who's present, not just successful. Robert smiled, genuine warmth in his expression. I was hoping you'd say that. Sterling's Hospitality will be your first corporate partner. $2 million annually. Tom Carson stood from the back of the room. Sarah, I need to confess something. I was paid to sabotage you. The room erupted again. Sarah's face went pale. But the person who paid me, Tom continued, was Robert. Every eye turned to Robert, who nodded slowly. It's true. I paid Tom to test you, Sarah. Not to destroy you, but to see if you'd break under real adversity, because corporate politics would have eaten you alive as VP. Tom didn't actually sabotage anything he pretended to and reported back to me. Every step. You passed a test I put in front of you. Sarah's fury was immediate. You manipulated me. I tested you, like life will test you over and over, and you proved stronger than any executive I've ever hired. I should hate you right now. You should. Sarah stood there, trembling with anger and exhaustion. Then Emma's hand found hers, and she remembered the essay, We Don't Quit. I don't hate you, Sarah said finally, because you're right. If my non-profit is going to work, I need to be tested by fire. So thank you. I think... Federal agents entered the restaurant. One approached Nelson Patterson, who'd been sitting in the audience, watching his plan unravel. Mr. Patterson, you're under arrest for securities fraud, conspiracy, and attempted corporate sabotage. As they handcuffed him, Nelson sneered at Sarah. You think you've won? You're still just trailer trash who got lucky with a viral video. Emma's voice rang out, clear and strong. My mom isn't trash. She's a hero, and you're going to jail. The standing ovation lasted 3 full minutes. Later, as police escorted Nelson out, his phone clattered to the floor. Sarah picked it up. A text message glowed on the screen from G. Pete. Phase 2. Ready. She doesn't know what's coming. Sarah's blood ran cold. She showed Robert. His face darkened. We need to talk. Privately. Now. In Robert's office an hour later, he explained what investigators had uncovered. Greg's Phase 2 was a defamation lawsuit using deep fake evidence. But Sarah, there's something else. Something about David. Sarah's world stopped. Your husband's accident wasn't random. Nelson Patterson's trucking company owned the semi that hit David. The driver was drunk, but they covered it up. Paid off investigators. When you showed up at Riverside, Greg recognized your name. That's why he was so cruel. Guilt and fear you'd discover the truth. Sarah couldn't breathe. My husband's death was their fault, and there's a $4.7 million settlement coming. David's death wasn't your fault, or his. It was corporate negligence they buried. Sarah sat down hard. Emma appeared in the doorway, having been brought up by Tom. Mommy, why are you crying? Sarah pulled her daughter close. Because sometimes we cry when we finally understand the truth. Baby. That evening, Sarah visited David's grave with Emma. The headstone read, Lieutenant David Mitchell, beloved husband and father. Daddy, I want you to know I finally understand what you said. Choose life. Not revenge, not anger. Life. I'm going to build something from your memory. The David Mitchell Foundation for Working Families. Emma placed flowers on the grave. Daddy would be proud of you. Mommy? Yeah. Baby. He would. 6 months later, the David Mitchell Foundation opened its doors. Sarah stood before 275 people. Emma beside her wearing a dress the color of hope. 2 years ago, I was fired for being a mother. 18 months ago, I almost gave up. 1 year ago, I thought success meant proving people wrong. Today, I know success means helping others prove themselves right. The foundation had partnered with 43 companies and placed 127 people in jobs. 89% were still employed after 6 months. Maria stood at the podium, now head chef at Riverside. Sarah didn't just save my job. She taught me that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing growth over grudge. Tom followed. I sold my motorcycle to help Sarah. Best investment I ever made. Not because she paid me back, but because she gave me purpose back. Robert closed with words his father had written before dying. Tell Sarah she fixed what I broke. She showed you how to love your work and your people. Sarah returned to Riverside one afternoon and found a young waitress being berated by a manager for taking a personal call. Sarah stood, walked over, and said, "We need to talk about policies." The cycle of second chances continued. Have you ever been unjustly fired or treated unfairly at work when you were only trying to survive?